over.
Namaskaram Sadhguru Ji. We meet once again after September last year, but the atmosphere in which we meet has completely undergone a huge change in this country. And Sadhguru Ji, we are now a country of 130 crore people which are swinging between despair, absolute grief and anger after what happened in Pulwama and 2 days after that. Sadhguru Ji, you've spoken about a lot of steps that need to be taken, but how does a country like ours deal with the grief and the anger against a nation that has only given us grief and anger?
Unfortunately, this is not a one-time incident. This has been happening at a certain regularity. We get emotional when the numbers are big, but we are not counting those that almost on a weekly basis, 1, 2, 3 of our security forces are falling prey to this. How do we respond to this? Well, for those who've lost their men, sons, husbands, fathers, there is no way we can replace that. We can give some compensations, which is human life cannot be compensated like that. We could try to make their lives a little comfortable, that's about it. But for the nation, because nation cannot go on bleeding like this, nation is not bleeding like this by accident, as it is a declared policy of 1,000 cuts. 1,000 cuts are happening. A variety of reasons, but I believe essentially because of not sustained focus towards a solution from one government to another at various times. Because in a democratic system, when the governments change somewhere, a whole lot of things don't continue in the same level of focus as the previous government might have been doing it. So, because of these lapses, in 70 years, we have not come towards a solution, we have only escalated the problem further. So a time has come where, though such incidents have happened before, at this point, the nation wants some kind of a solution. This is widespread. But internally, people who have been giving financial support, physical support, and kind of giving them media space, social media space, and variety of things which are adding to all this, I think this is the time to undo that 100%.
But Sadhguru Ji, you…
Just to complete this, see, one thing is this IED blast happened and it's a mayhem at that moment. When the rest of the force is trying to go pick up the bodies, somebody is throwing stones at them at that time. Well, this cannot happen in a nation. This cannot happen. Even at that moment, there are people throwing stones at you. Well, always they've been explained of as boys. They're not boys.
And alienated boys, political patronage for them, especially coming from the state that is the most strife-ridden state in our nation.
But I'm saying this is the time to deal with this, 100%.
You're saying the establishment at the center should even take on the Mehbooba Muftis and the Omar Abdullahs?
Whatever it takes, the enemy within must be dealt with 100%. Outside enemy is not something that you adventure into without thinking of all the consequences.
But at a time when we want retribution from Pakistan, you think only looking at the enemy within
No.
People who say they are part of this country, of course they speak the language of Pakistan, but they are part of this country, is action against them going to be enough?
I would say, as a mature nation and as a culture which has always stood for peace and inclusion, we should not seek retribution, we should seek solution. We want a solution.
But what kind of solution is possible
Solution is we
with
don't…
Pakistan? We've tried sitting across the table. The Prime Minister has made several overtures himself for, inviting them for his swearing-in ceremony, going across for Nawaz Sharif's daughter's wedding. All of those niceties
we know
have been
none
done.
of those things will work, because we need to understand they're working for what they believe is their way of doing things. But what is it that matters to us? We must achieve that, rather than getting into retribution state where you may get enmeshed in their agenda. You may serve their agenda better in trying for retribution. I would say we must see what is the solution for this for us. One piece of the solution, it's not a whole solution. One piece of the solution is support within the country must be stamped out.
All right. And Sadhguruji, you made this statement. In fact, you put this out as your statement, saying, in the making of a nation, maintaining the sovereignty is most fundamental. There should be no compromise on this endeavor, either in thought or action. Either you must have the wisdom to kill the enmity, and I think you're referring to the enmity with Pakistan. If there is no room for that wisdom, unfortunately it will naturally translate into killing the enemy. You're talking about killing the enemy and then you're talking about peace. How can both happen?
That's what I'm saying. If, as a part of making of the nation, it unfortunately leads to this kind of action, we have done it in the past, we will have to do it again, but not as retribution. Simply as a solution for us, as a solution for the people of this nation, that we want to move forward. We are on a threshold of a great economic possibility. We should not get derailed because we'll start running after somebody else.
Sadhguruji, we've taken some steps. We've stopped sending our share of the Indus Valley water into Pakistan. We've removed the most favored nation tagline that was given to Pakistan. Are these enough, or are these just tokens?
These are just bug bites.
Bug bites?
Water could affect them a little bit, but not big enough. These are just bites. This is not going to…
So when this is being tom-tom as this great, huge diplomatic…
No, all these things have to be done. No, I am not trying to say it's not important. All these things have to be done because you have to drive them to one corner. That is being done at various levels in the international fora, in the diplomatic process of doing things. Of course, we will do those things in United Nations. But we must take into account that Pakistan has a certain geostrategic significance. It's its geography. It is not its government, it's not its military, it's not its people. It is a geographic location which is giving them that significance, and that significance is not going to go away. Do what you want. And all the other players in the world will always hold that significance in their mind no matter what they do. They're not going to completely go against Pakistan because they have a piece of geography which is a gift from us, of course, unfortunately, without understanding the significance of that piece of land. We have done this in the past, we can't correct that now. But do not underestimate the geostrategic positioning, the geographic positioning of the land, that nobody is going to suddenly dump Pakistan. All the big players in the world, they're not going to dump Pakistan because it's become a face of terror. They will talk against it, they may take some steps, but they're not going to dump that country. We need to know that.
So Sadhguruji, you talk about the enemy within. We are talking about, in the last few days, there have been action on the enemy within. And these are the supporters, the funding channels, the people in our side of the border who are giving support.
We need to understand it's not just one or two people, there's a whole infrastructure. This infrastructure has to be dismantled completely so that If people from outside want to do something, they have to come as a military force, not go on doing these things. This can only happen because there is a local infrastructure.
And the local infrastructure, who does it entail?
So many people, of course. We should have the courage to deal with it now.
So I'm asking you, Sadhguruji, would you like to name people who are part of the so-called mainstream politics, who stay away from elections to make a point, but on the other hand continuously, whether it's Mehbooba Mufti or Farooq Abdullah or Omar Abdullah, each one of them keeps talking about the stone pelters as being alienated youth. They keep giving them their political patronage. They keep talking about Hurriyat and the action against these separatists that has been taken. Are these the enemy within? Will you take a position on that?
So what I would like to say is, after all they are politicians who need to win an election. So, they may not be… I'm not making a clear-cut statement on this, but I'm saying the names that you say may not be actual infrastructure. They may be playing up because they don't want to have people against them. They have to stand for the next election. So, we must be very astute about this. Where is the real infrastructure that must be broken? Where is the support of a certain level of support in the social media, in the media, there is support. This must be dismantled. See, nation is not… I'm not speaking with some kind of fervor. I'm just talking in terms of a solution. Nation is not something that descended from somewhere. It's an idea that all of us agreed that this is our nation. If we don't take care of it, if we don't invest ourselves into it, this idea will not become a wonderful idea. This will become a horrendous idea. Right now, we have this problem, a whole lot of people have not invested themselves in that idea. They are either vacillating…
Including the political class?
They're either vacillating or they're wondering which way it's going to go. Even for them to wonder, the reason may be the situation on the ground. Because I know from the other side, at many points, Pakistan believes it's very close that they're going to get Kashmir. They have never understood. It doesn't matter what they do, Indian army is never going to hand over Kashmir to them. That's never going to happen. But that side, there is an illusion. Many times in the last 70 years, at least 4 to 5 times, they've really believed it's come so close, they're going to get it now. Because they start talking locally, just so close, another 2 months we'll have Kashmir. This kind of talk goes on there. So that illusion we have to break.
And how does one do that?
If you take away the local infrastructure completely,
So
there are people who are clearly other side of the wall, we need to deal with them one way. There's a whole lot of people who sit on the wall not knowing which way to fall, we must deal with them compassionately. And those who are on this side, we must deal with them in terms of protecting them so that they don't get harmed.
But then Sadhguruji, in this country, any such decision also is turned around to sound as if it's a communal decision. It's because there's a certain religion that these people may belong to, or a religion that is not the religion of the majority community in this country. All of those political narratives then take over.
See, I don't think it's a narrative, it's a reality. We need to understand the only reason why another nation can play havoc with us like this is because there is a religious congruence there. And we know that a certain religion has… there's been an exodus in the 90s. Nearly 750,000 people have been burnt out of that state. Them going back is over. More than 20 years they've been out of their state and they've lived like refugees, and many have distributed themselves all over the world. So, there is a religious dimension to it, nobody should be fooled by thinking… See, because we've gotten into this political correctness, you see, you ask me to name the people, but you won't even name the religion, all right? Because you're not supposed to say it. I'm saying this is a fact. This is a fact, there is a religious goal attached to it. Whether you like it or you don't like it, that's how it is, that's how historically it's been. Does it mean to say we have to divide this country? No. You're dealing with a particular state where the problem is, keep the problem there and deal with it as it should be dealt with. Don't make the same parallels with the rest of the nation, no.
So Sadhguruji, at this time, for those who recommend that peace and dialogue is a process that should continue.
What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? You want to discuss each other's philosophies or what? There's nothing to talk.
There's nothing to talk?
There's really nothing to talk.
So what would you advise the Navjot Singh Sidhus, the Mehbooba Muftis, the Omar Abdullahs, the Farooq Abdullahs who keep talking about dialogue is the only way out. The solution that you're talking about is only through this dialogue that they talk about.
No. See, the other side, including their Prime Minister, has made it very clear what is their intent, all right? They have stated what they want. Please, it's time we state what we want.
Yes, Imran Khan was on television, on national television, virtually threatening India.
Yes.
Do you think
it's
time for us to stand up and do the same?
See, threatening is not the point. If you wish to do something, you must do it, otherwise you must keep quiet. What is the point? This is not a Hindi cinema to throw dialogues at each other, all right? So, talking is of no consequence because the solution is not geography. They have clearly made it very clear at many points. They have said our goals are not geographic. Once we liberate Kashmir, we will liberate the rest of the nation. Whether you want to be liberated or not is something we must decide. We want to be liberated or we don't want to be liberated.
So what do you think about the outrage? Because we are looking at tougher calls. Yes, Pakistan has stated its intent of bleeding India through 1,000 cuts. At such a time, when India and Indians are completely outraged about whether Pakistani artists should come perform in India, whether we should play a World Cup match with Pakistan in the month of June, what would you say to them?
I don't think we should engage with them on any level. Normally I wouldn't say this, but when the policy is 1,000 cuts, when they have so much wisdom that they understand one stab is not going to kill us, and one stab could be very dangerous for them, and they are wise enough to understand they have to do 1,000 cuts on us, we must be wise enough not to be outraged, but work towards a solution. In this, cornering that nation is very important. Whether it's cricket, art, music, everything, I think this must stop. When we are saying no dialogue, these are all different levels of dialogue.
But then people begin to distinguish between bilateral cricket should be stopped, but multilateral at neutral venues, that is something that you can't come out of. How will the world view us? Instead of isolating Pakistan, we will end up getting isolated ourselves. Sachin Tendulkar says, why should we give them the 2 points? Saurav Ganguly comes in and says, why should forget the 2 points? Why should we give them the cup which we can get for India itself? Where does all this chorus go?
Everybody has an opinion as cricket players because the shelf life of a sports person is so small, obviously they will be concerned. If they don't play, when right now India is doing really well in cricket, of course, almost it's certain that we will win the World Cup. Now not participating in the World Cup could be a disaster for the team. I very much understand that. But now even other nations are willing to come in. Suppose 3 or 4 nations agree to boycott the World Cup, the ICC will make a different rule.
So that's the direction we should go in.
Oh,
put
yes.
pressure on other countries
on
to
all
boycott.
levels, on all levels, on all levels. They are talking about one kind of 1,000 cuts. We should do another kind of 1,000 cuts.
And that's not retribution?
This is… see, the retribution is only in your heart. Action is towards solution. We want a solution. In our hearts, we want a solution. We don't enjoy somebody else suffering 1,000 cuts. But if we have to do it for the well-being of the nation, the larger interest of the people, we have to do it.
So Sadhguruji, you talked about compensation for those lives that were lost when there are large numbers. Yes, it's cynical, but it's the crude reality of life. when we lose 40 of our Jawans from CRPF in a IED blast in Pulwama, there's national outrage. When there are 1s and 2s and 3s who die, we probably don't even blink an eyelid. Sadhguruji, I want to ask you, for some who made slipping compensation and muavza, that is become the key word every time we suffer losses. We saw the Home Minister going and slipping these envelopes in the pockets of our injured Jawans. Do you think that's bringing down the photo op of muavza completely, that takes away the sacrifice of our Jawans?
Definitely we must deal with this much more sensitively, because we need to understand this. Whatever we make up in terms of somebody's martyred, somebody got a medal, somebody went to heaven, you can say whatever you want. The fact of the matter is a man is dead, that's all. And somebody has lost somebody who's very dear to them. That's all the reality is. Rest is all we're making up.
So, when a 22-year-old baby's father dies in the blast, what would you say to that child? What would you say to that mother?
See, we can go on an emotional trip. There is pain, all right? If we think by saying nice words or giving money, this will go away, it's not true. Money is only to make sure their financial difficulties at least are handled reasonably well, that they don't have to struggle for their livelihood, that's our only intent. Already what has happened to them has happened, further they don't have to go out begging tomorrow morning, that is the idea of money. Money should never be understood as a compensation for the life that's been lost, a dear one that has been lost. Is there some way you can say something wonderful to a child who's lost his father that the child may not remember in another 3 years' time? Is there some way? There is no way. There is simply no way. We must understand, that's why I'm saying no retribution, because the other side also are human beings. We don't want retribution, we want a solution. But whatever kind of action the solution involves, you must be ready for it, otherwise there'll be no solution.
I don't know, Sadhguruji, whether you read a report that came out in a magazine recently that looked at the caste of all the soldiers who had laid down their lives. And it said it was only 12.5% of those who laid down their lives who belonged to the upper caste, and it was the lower caste, the scheduled castes and tribes, the OBCs, that formed the majority of those who had laid down their lives.
These are the lowest level of minds in our country. Unfortunately, they're either through social media or media also is focusing their cameras on them. Please, these are not fit to be human beings. Please don't put your cameras on them.
But sir, by not putting the cameras, is the ulcer within solved, sorted, cured?
See, if there is an ulcer in your body, you don't have to carry it on your face.
But don't you have to deal with it?
We have to deal with it.
How do we deal with it?
See, the only reason people make such absurd statements is, for one day they are celebrities. Don't give them that status, first of all. So in this country, it's become like this, somebody wants to be on the screen, all they have to say is something absurd, bizarre stuff if you say it, and the cameras are on them, they're just enjoying the limelight. Please don't give them that.
But Sadhguruji, you know, if these people are told not to do something like this, or if there is action against them, then there will be battle cries on the streets of the country that their freedom of expression, their freedom of speech has been taken away. And there is intolerance in this country.
See, speech is a valuable privilege that a human being has. It's very, very important that we use our speech as human beings should. Essentially, a human being means this, in what way we are different from other animals is that there is an intelligence within us which can respond beyond our instinctive, compulsive reactions. That is, we can be more inclusive. We don't have to live within our territories as every other creature tries to live. There is a way for us to look beyond that. If your human speech does not represent that, actually you have no right to speak. You should not have no right to speak.
But should there be action against such people and such speech?
See, there is a perjury law in the country, there is defamation laws in the country, but if you try to put a defamation thing on somebody, you will end up in the court more than them.
So then, how do you
So
deal with
I'm
it?
saying, first of all, quick justice must happen. It's very important. When justice will take 10 years, 15 years, you're only punishing the already one who has been abused by somebody. This is an everyday thing happening to people all over the country. It's become free for all, anybody can say anything because there's no consequence. If it was olden time without all this democratic thing, in a town or a village, if somebody says something that's not true and abusive to you, they would go and slap him. But that's against the law. If you slap him, you will get arrested, not him, all right? So I am not talking about taking law into your hands, but if you go and act physically, that will be taking law into your hands. But now, if whatever he does, he can do and there is no law, there is a law, but it is too slow, that it is mocking you all the time. So, these things we need to settle. One of the important things, whether it's for businesses to work in this country or to settle these kind of issues, settle those people who are supporting people who are working against the country, either in the form of terror or in the form of weakening the nation in so many other ways, within 3 months it must come to justice. Well, you don't have enough judges, right? I'm saying it is time we think about this, that responsible citizens in this city, let us say, can't you find 1,000 people who will be beyond prejudice and act as some kind of judgment? 5 people, 10 people, make them into jury and clear all the simple cases.
Sadhguruji, what are you saying? In this country where people have come out, Omar Khalid and
Yes.
you know, and all of these people who Navika Kumar, they are icons today because they raised the slogans. At least they were part of the group that raised the slogans, Bharat tere tukde tukde
Yes.
honge, Afzal hum
So,
sharminda hai,
I'm
tere
saying,
qatil zinda.
why are they
And when
still-
the sedition law is applied to them, there are political mainstream parties that come out to question
Yes,
that
that is what I'm
decision.
saying. As per the law, they shouldn't be walking the street, all right? They are not only walking the street, they are hogging the limelight. Please end this is the time. Right now the country is ready for this, country's emotion is ready for this. This is the time to deal with all of them. Because this is not about retribution, this is about ensuring that the possibility, the threshold of possibility upon which we are sitting, that we could solve the problems of poverty and bring well-being to this nation and the people of this nation who had such a bad deal for last 10, 15 generations, they've lived in poverty. Now there is a possibility, we don't want some fool to hijack this, so we must act for solution. This is the time. I'm saying when I said dismantle the infrastructure, I'm meaning just this, all of them. It doesn't matter who they
Do you
are.
think the next war is actually within the country on platforms in the social media?
It should not just be on the social media platforms, that will be a fake war. Well, many years ago, General Musharraf said, next time there is a war, it'll happen within your borders, not at the border. He said that. Well, he said it with a certain understanding and a certain knowledge about certain things. Now, when people have come up and openly said, we want to break the country, we must decide, all of us, do we want to break the country? At least let's do it. If we don't want it, we value India for what it is right now. We have broken it once and never again we're going to break it, because when we broke it, we killed over 1 million people and over 15 million people were displaced. Many of them after 70 years still not settled. And we know what pain. See, the reports carry the dead. If so many people died, you will report that so many people died. Do you have a way of reporting people suffering? Do you have a way of reporting people suffering? Those millions of people who were looted, raped and lost their children and wives and husbands, and they came in such desperate this way and that way, both sides I'm saying. Do you want to create one more situation like that? I am not talking about geographic integrity, I am talking about human suffering. We have seen that suffering, unfortunately it's not well recorded, nobody has bothered to write enough about it, nobody has bothered to make enough movies about it, nobody has brought it alive for this generation that this has happened to us, never again we should make the same mistake. So openly in the capital city when somebody says tukade tukade, what are you going around doing all kinds of nuances of law? Please do what you have to do.
Sadhguruji, I am somebody who's seen this at close quarters. My parents came across from Pakistan, which was West Punjab then, to here, and I've seen this firsthand of the torment and of the nightmares that they have suffered for 45 years after partition. I've seen all that. But even people like me, when we object to something like Bharat Tere Tukde Honge, we are said we belong to a certain right-wing ideology and therefore we are a class of bhakts. I want to ask you, when you say that there should be people from within the citizens of this country who should form a jury, you think this country…
I'm saying to ease the load on the judiciary, all the small cases.
But then everybody here is accused of having some prejudice or the other.
See, that is what I'm saying. This is a very calculated effort. They're not just doing it, they have an agenda. They're working. When I say dismantle all the infrastructure, I mean all these things. Everything that is working…
Then where does the democracy go?
No. Democracy is to make the nation function, not to dismantle the nation. Democracy is not made to dismantle a nation. If anybody has such an understanding, let them correct themselves now. Because democracy is about a graceful change of power, essentially. That without bloodbath, you can change power, which never happened in human history, only after democratic process came, this is happening. So democracy does not mean you have the right to dismantle a nation. If you want to dismantle a nation, then let's hold a referendum, if that's what you want. We are very clear, 95% of the population or 98 or 99% of the population here is 100% clear, we don't want to break the country once again. We have done it once, we have seen the suffering, what it has done, and we don't want such an incident to happen once again ever in our country. So if somebody thinks they want to do it, we must deal with them. What are we waiting for?
So Sadhguruji, when anybody uses such language in this country, they're asked, what are your political leanings? Have you ever been asked that question?
Political?
Leanings.
Oh, of course they accuse me I'm a right-wing extremist and whatever, though I've never taken a political position, ever. In public life, I've never taken a political position. I don't wish to take that position because I'm not made like that. For me, democracy means just this. I have enough sense to see what a specific government has done in the last 5 years, and I have enough intelligence to estimate whether it is worth giving them one more chance or no. This is all I see as democracy. I am going to the extent of saying one thing, all political parties, right, left, center, everybody will be against me for this. I am saying you must cancel the party membership. Parties should not have the power to enroll members because you are subverting democracy. In the sense, if anybody votes en masse, there is no democracy. What is the point of secret ballot when you are already Congress or BJP or whatever else? Suppose you are already wearing the party tag, where is the secret ballot for you, I'm asking? Because your father was a congressman, you are a congressman. Where is the democratic process? It's feudalism. You can as well belong to your tribe.
Are you saying this with specific reference to Rahul Gandhi?
No. I'm not talking about the leadership, I'm talking about the people. I'm saying, right now, let us say 10 million or 100 million.
What you said applies to Rahul Gandhi.
No.
His father was a congressman, so he's the congressman and the Congress president.
See, that is a different matter. I am saying 100 million people are a member of a specific party. That means we know where these 100 million people will vote, isn't it? Where is the democracy in this? It is just like saying one religious group will vote for this party, one ethnic group will vote for that party. There is no democracy in this, it's feudalism. So we must bring this law at some time. Parties cannot enroll members. Only 3 months ahead of election, if they want, they can do all this stuff. All the time it's already declared from your birth which party you belong to. Where is democratic process? After some time there will be no democracy at all, it'll all be fixed.
Well, one would need a lot of time, Sadhguruji, to go into the philosophy of the politics that we in our country lead.
No, I would change that word. It's not a philosophy. Some people are quietly working to their agenda. They will do whatever to achieve that.
And what is the agenda? Power?
They're not interested in power either. See, those who are interested in power can be dealt with, because democracy allows that possibility. If you want power, you can contest, you can build a party, you can do whatever. That possibility is there, we are not against that. Their agenda is not even for the well-being of the nation. When such a thing is there, if we don't deal with it, we are not peaceful people, we're just naive and stupid, that's all it is. I don't want to go down as a generation which was stupid, which did not know what to do to make this nation tick. I want to die in such a way that as a generation we did the right things and we took the country to the right place.
Is that possible in foreseeable future?
Very much possible, why not?
Sadhguruji, before I end the Frankly Speaking show with you, I want to ask you on a philosophical note. We've always been taught in the Hindu Dharma the saying, Karam kiye ja phal ki ichha mat kar. We are doing our karams. This whole nation is doing the karams. What is it that is being given to the people? The Pulwamas? I mean, it's not because of lack of karam on India's part.
No,
Then
definitely lack of karam.
Lack of karam?
Yes, yes. See, when you got your independence, why don't you understand, in the making of a nation, one of the most important thing is the sovereignty of the nation. You did not fix your borders properly, neither in the west nor in the north, you have not fixed your borders properly. Immediately, 1948, you should have finished it, right? When you not fixed your borders, how did you imagine there will be no disputes continuously? You're suffering for not doing your karma properly because you were probably too excited about your freedom. They left you empty-handed and you cut off your trade routes, both sides. Trade routes which you have used for thousands of years, you cut it off. It's like a bird where both the wings are cut off on both the sides, and then you expect the nation to fly? How will it happen? If these trade routes were open, we would have railways, pipelines, roadways going into European capitals, Arabia, Central Asia and this side in Asia, everywhere. We would have been a developed nation within 25 to 30 years. So you cut off what you have used for 10,000 years to make this nation a prosperous nation, and then you wonder what's wrong with you, where have you done your karma properly? You have done a blunder, all right? So now you're trying to fix that blunder, at least do that properly.
And karma for the people, for the citizens of India?
Well, karma, if you do wrong karma, there is a consequence, we must know that. We are facing that consequence. At least now let's do the right karma, that there is no more tukade business happening in this country, 100%.
Well, I hope people of this country are not just listening to you, but hearing and understanding the deep meaning of
Let everybody understand this. An enormous amount of human suffering we've unleashed with 2 tukadas we did. No more tukade. Anybody who talks about that should not exist in this country, or they can be in state hospitality.
Well, on that note, on that very, very important statement that you make, Sadhguruji, I thank you for joining me on Frankly Speaking. Always a pleasure speaking to you.
And our deepest condolences to not only the families of this Pulwama, but everybody who's fought for this nation. Every day it's happening. With aging machines, pilots are dying every day, and we're going on debating endlessly about whether we need new aircrafts or not. When are we going to come to our senses? We're talking about karma.
Thank you, Sadhguruji. I hope the message strikes home.